In the Crucible, Abigail Proctor violates the social code of 1692 Salem, and to get out of trouble, she says she was under the influence of a witch. She scapegoats a black slave and other less fortunate people of Salem. More people then start to accuse others of witchcraft for their own personal gain, and the witchcraft fervor gets out of control. However, once people that were more respected in the community were hung for witchcraft, some of those in Salem began to question the authority of the accusations, and those wonders were confirmed when Abigail ran away.
In 1983, the HIV virus began to spread among gay men, but the government did not begin to try to prevent it until 1986. However, once the government began to try to prevent the spread of HIV, they began attempting to quarantine those who had the virus, leading to a panic about the spread of HIV and AIDS. The main cause of the panic was the lack of information from health workers, politicians, and the news. At the time, no one knew enough about HIV or AIDS to give information on prevention of the spread or treatment. There was a lot of misinformation being given to the American people, too, including that a vaccine would be discovered within 2 years of the government's beginning steps to prevent the spread of AIDS. However, it was not, which only increased the level of panic. Homophobia during the AIDS epidemic was a witch hunt. The government, in its lack of medical assistance to the gay community during the AIDS crisis, tried to ostracize homosexuals because homosexuality was different from the norm and because being gay was widely believed to be wrong. Also, even though gays were not quarantined for having AIDS, there were still calls to do so by several government senators, which only increased the hysteria about AIDS and further ostracized gays. The hysteria during the AIDS crisis was similar to the Crucible because in the Crucible, those that were less well off were persecuted, and during the AIDS crisis, those that were different from the norm, homosexuals, were ostracized through the American public's fear of AIDS.
From both the Crucible and homophobia during the AIDS epidemic, one can learn that in society, those that are different from the norm are often punished for being so. Sometimes they are just ostracized, but other times they face persecution. The lesson that society should learn from these events is that simply because people are different, they should not be persecuted.